Get it straight, Buster. I'm not here to say please. I'm here to tell you what to do, and if self-preservation is an instinct you possess, you better do it, and do it quick. I'm here to help. If my help's not appreciated, then lots of luck, gentlemen. If I'm curt with you, it's because time is a factor. I think fast, I talk fast. I need you guys to act fast if you want to get out of this. So, pretty please, with sugar on top. Listen to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Would you like to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Speakeasy and master connector Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on this planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Doesn't it feel like professional when we do it this way?
I like it this way.
Welcome, everybody, to another fun episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond, and today I have Kyle Reutner, the general manager of Ko Hana Distilleries, which we have plenty of product here before. If you're a loyal fan to Thrive Loud, you'll remember that we've had Jason Brand, one of the founders of Ko Hana, long time ago, an early episode in like the double digits of Thrive Loud. And we decided a few years later to kind of check back in and see how things are going, and we're going to get to know Kyle a little bit here. So first of all, welcome to Thrive Loud, Kyle.
Thrilled to be here.
All right, we're here in New York City, not in Hawaii, where
Yes.
everything is going on. So what I want to do is let's bring our listeners up to speed, tell everyone a little bit about what Ko Hana is all about, what the brand's about, and we'll kind of work into you after that.
Yeah, that's perfect. So Ko Hana is a one-of-a-kind distillery. We do things unlike pretty much nobody in the world in a multitude of reasons. I always say we kind of have a three-prong approach to what sets us apart. The first is we grow everything ourselves.
Right.
State-grown sugarcane. Nobody does that. It's such a small amount. The second thing that makes us different, heirloom Hawaiian sugarcane. Hawaiians had sugarcane about 500 years before the Caribbean got their first stock. Super unique, interesting flavors. For anybody who loves wine, it's like discovering new grapes.
Yeah.
And third, we use fresh juice instead of molasses. So those three things set Ko Hana apart from everybody else. And that's really who we are. So congrats to Glass Distillery.
So I'm going to get my knowledge on Ko Hana as well. You also do agricole, right? Agricole or
Agricole.
Agricole rum, which means you're not burning the sugar cane, you're actually twisting and grinding it as well, right?
Yeah, so the big difference is most rum is made from a byproduct of making something else. Granulated table sugar for your pastries or your cereal or whatever, right? The French, sometime in the early 1900s, decided, they didn't really decide, they were at war, let's just be honest. There were embargoes, there was a lot of bad stuff happening, we can talk about that, but they decided to start using fresh juice instead of molasses. And that's what agricole really is. So besides not burning it, they don't treat it in any capacity. And so we just fresh juice it straight away. There's no processing to it other than just crushing it.
Listeners and viewers need to know there's rum, which you're probably thinking of like your Malibu rum or stuff like that, usually is put into mixed drinks. Originally, Ko Hana had started off its product at a different type of rum. Talk about what sipping rum is all about.
Yeah, so just like when, let's say, Patron introduced American consumers to the idea of a sipping tequila, we thought it would be really great to look at rum through a lens of let's not hide behind anything else. Let's not hide behind cola or behind juices or whatever. Let's get something that the distillate by itself can be poured in a glass and loved. And that was the whole idea behind Ko Hana, was let's make the best thing possible to start. And look, we're not mad when somebody mixes it with Coke. Don't get me wrong, it still makes a mean rum and Coke, but it can be sipped by itself. Whether it's an unaged like Archaea or any of the aged products, it can just be drank just as it is.
All right, a lot of people are familiar with the drinks that they see on shelves and obviously the pretty bottles and the look and feel, and then they get familiar with certain brands. But very few people understand what goes on behind the scenes and actually helping to plan this process. So help understand, for those that have no idea, the rum process from the sugarcane growing in the fields to getting it in the finished product in the bottle. What's that timeline look like for a sipping rum like Ko Hana?
So the fastest, if everything goes perfectly and it's on the second harvest of a cane, we can get it in bottles 15 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days.
Okay.
So that's the shortest time. The average time is closer to 2 years. So when you think about this, you're growing sugarcane for a minimum of 12 months. If your first harvest, it's actually closer to 15 months. So you've got 15 months worth of growth.
Right.
You know, it's a grass. You throw it in the ground, you water it, you fertilize it, and eventually you cut it and you juice it. Then you have to ferment that. Fermentation is the act of turning sugars into alcohol. It's proof that something out there is magic and loves us, and that thing is yeast. But
Yeast loves us.
Yeast, yeah, exactly, and it sacrifices itself to turn sugar into ethyl alcohol. Then we're going to put that in what's basically a glorified tea kettle and concentrate those flavors into distilled spirits, which is our rum. Eventually we'll rest that. So if you're in an aged product like tequila, you're looking at 3 more years after that. So you're looking at about 5 years total.
Okay.
If you're talking about Kea, which is our white rum, Kea is the Hawaiian word for white, like Mauna Kea, the White Mountain. Mm-hmm. So Kea, that'll get rested in stainless steel for 3 more months, and then eventually it'll go on the bottling line. So everything perfect, we're to you within 16 months.
Right.
Everything not perfect, 2 years. So usually about 2 years.
Okay. Managing that process is obviously, you've got weather to deal with. The weather in Hawaii is a little bit more nicer than most of the weather and more consistent. But I bet you have the same issues.
Nobody's going to cry for me if I start talking about weather. So yeah, let's stay off that one.
We're going to keep with the weather, which makes it ideal for the growing conditions and the part that it is. And obviously, we've created a unique product, and you gave the 3 unique components of what makes Ko Hana so unique. There's a new version of what's not here, not presented in the video here, but something that's going on. Can you talk about what you've taken Ko Hana to in the next step, which is showing up in lots of different places, and maybe in a more familiar place that more people will be familiar with?
Yeah, and it's really fun because it ends up being full circle as a business, right? When you start out the company going, we want to make the best distillate to not be mixed, and then now we're doing pre-mixed cocktails.
Right.
With really the same ethos. Like, okay, how do we make the pre-made cocktail as good as our distillate deserved? And that's really what it came down to. So what we've launched is what you'd call a ready to drink, or an RTD. And we have 5 different cocktails. There are rum cocktails that have lilikoi, which is passion fruit. We've got the classic daiquiri. We've made Mai Tai. And these have been great. That we have airline partners now. We have huge grocery chains that are just falling in love with it because we figured out how to take our world-class distillate and not make it taste terrible. A lot of those RTDs taste pretty sugary and saccharine. Right. So for us, it's like being able to control it and say, you don't have to make a daiquiri with, the TGI Fridays method or whatever. You can, here, try this, let's pour it over ice.
Let's give an alcohol percentage breakdown versus what's the strongest ones that you guys have versus what's in the ready to drink ones.
Yeah, and to stay true to the brand, we really wanted something that was classic cocktail strength. Mm-hmm. So it's still 22% ABV.
Oh, wow.
It's no wilting lily. It doesn't shy away from being like we're a cocktail. But our rums start at 30 for our liqueur, 40, and go all the way up to 65 for some of our cast strength stuff. So the ready to drink at 22% ABV or 44 proof is as low as we'll go.
I wanted to talk about this because the last time when we had Jason on the program, we talked about the uniqueness of the Ko Hana distillery in itself and where it's located. I want to give an update as to what's going on with the distillery because it's a very, very cool place to go visit. But obviously, you're going beyond the walls of Ko Hana and trying to get this into the glasses of everybody out there. Talk about the distillery itself.
So the distillery is located in central Oahu. It's an old Del Monte general store. So it used to be the Walmart of the day for everybody that was basically a Del Monte worker that lived up in that area. And Del Monte at the time was mostly in the pineapple business. They had gotten into cane a little bit, but it was really the pineapple game. And they departed somewhere around 15 years ago. We were able to take over some of the land and this general store. and really breathe new life into it, right? So it's this great tasting room, the first tasting room on Oahu. We jumped through all those hoops, all of the great stuff. And then we realized, well, this is a great showpiece.
Right.
We need more land. And so Jason, who you've referenced a couple times, really went out there and pushed for where's the best land we can get? What's the most like contiguous? What's the right parcels for us? And we've got now over 300 acres
Amazing.
of heirloom Hawaiian sugarcane. So more cane growing, more of the right cane growing than since kings and queens lived there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's this really fantastic thing. And I don't think we're going to stop. I mean, the goal is to grow and grow. I mean, we can't grow our brand without growing our cane.
Yep.
So it's about that land and figuring out, all right, what's next? And so we're at 300 now. My goal would be somewhere in the 1,000-acre range.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you're the general manager of Ko Hana, and obviously you have lots of responsibilities. So how many people are actually putting the effort into making Ko Hana happen right today?
Yep.
Because it's a great entrepreneurial small business success story, even still today. So give an explanation of what that's about.
Yeah, so there are, I'd say, 5 wings of our business, and they are sized appropriately for sort of where we've been going forward. So our farm wing is the largest.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 13 farmers and a farm manager. My job is to manage that farm manager, and he gets to do, you know, his thing with this awesome team, whether it's setting irrigation schedules or harvest schedules or fixing equipment or whatever. So there's the farm wing. Then there's production wing, which is fermentation, distillation, and bottling. There are 7 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's about 7 people full-time in that area. And so it's 13, 7. And then we've got our tasting room staff, which is pretty large because we show a lot of people around all the time. So I think our tasting room might be at, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, we're somewhere around 14 people. Showing people daily, all of that side of things. And then we've got sales managers, brand manager, different folks like that. We're at about 35, 36 people right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And to give listeners an idea, within the 4 years since I last had Jason on the program, that number was way smaller than what it is.
Oh, for sure.
The land was much smaller. The number of products that are being released, and that's actually my next question. What's the production that you have of bottles to date?
Oh, so our capacity right now is somewhere around 15,000 cases, based mostly on the cane being our limiting factor. So that's where we are, right? How much healthy cane, viable, that's not for seed and planting out growth or anything like that. So about 15,000 cases, which would put us, I mean, that's 15,000 9-liter cases if anybody's like an actual like liquor person. So it's hard to say that.
You'd be amazed at some of our listeners.
All right,
the level of detail that they know.
So some, you know, for those guys, it's 15,000 real cases, 30,000 others for like liquor store cases. And that really, it still keeps us really small in like the grand scheme of things. But as far as craft goes, we're now starting to exceed sort of some of those limitations that unfortunately you can't get in craft without scale.
Right.
And that's been really cool between Robert Dawson and Jason Brand, the 2 founders, seeing how they've pushed me to push us to grow that way.
Okay. Most people who would have a business say, I want to be in every store, I want to be in every location. The distribution of Ko Hana, or the distribution of alcohol from there's like a pace, right? Because you can't completely deplete your supply if you put too much out there. There's this timing and pace that you have to manage with the growth of the product itself, the way you guys are doing it, and then obviously all the complication of getting it into the locations around the country, the world, wherever, where you can actually sell this.
Yeah.
Obviously, look, we all want to see things go on a hockey stick approach going up. Talk about that pace and how that's communicated to Ko Hana, because you have been slowly getting out and beyond Hawaii. We will put links on this podcast for you, where you can actually order Ko Hana.
For sure.
But talk about that in the distribution piece, which is kind of fascinating to people who are like, okay, I want to try.
Yeah, so the first thing is the United States has a very archaic model on how you're allowed to, and that's me being kind.
No, it's fair.
That's me being kind. It's an archaic model. It's called the 3-tier system, and some states add even more tiers. Like Texas has a 4th tier where the state gets involved. There's a lot going on. And basically it means you have manufacturers, what you would then call distributors, and then you have the purchaser, which would be the bar, the restaurant, or the grocery store, or the liquor store. And those are your 3 tiers. And then eventually it gets to your buyer, your actual like human that takes it home or drinks it on premise. For us, it's really complicated navigating each of those levels because everyone has different needs. Our distributor has different needs than our retailers do, than our bars do. So you're managing, and you'll love this. I mean, you're in sales. You're selling to 3 different levels of people. You're selling to the end consumer, the person who puts it on the shelves, and the person who sells to the person who puts it on the shelves. So you've got these different angles that you have to look at all of the problems.
Right.
So as you look at every state behaving differently, all the different types of consumers you have there, and you kind of need to grow in the right way. What our principle is to gain ground slowly and not give it up. So the goal is we're gonna get these bars in this specific area and we're gonna make sure we don't let them down. The last thing you wanna do if you go into a grocery store is get shelf space and work for 2 years to say, now we're eye level, we've got the perfect spot, we're priced right, we're moving, and you sell out and you can't refill that space. As soon as that happens, you're gone, right? So you have to grow at a pace that you know you can continue to supply, which is massively complex because things grow at different paces. All of a sudden, a huge big box retailer will pick you up and they're like, oh, we're gonna put you in 5 stores, we need 6 pallets of Coco Leca. That happened. And we're like, well, we had the 6 pallets. We need to make sure we have the next 6. And then we had to slow down another deal because that took what I would have been selling into a different state. So you're just waiting and just honestly having to be really nimble. Being a small business with patient ownership is really good for me.
Let's talk about you. Okay, so how long have you been at Ko Hana, and what do you love doing most every day?
Oh, those are good questions. So I've been at Ko Hana a little over 9 years. Robert Dawson reached out to me probably 15 years ago, maybe 14, when I was a grad student at the University of Hawaii, and I was moonlighting as a bartender. And so he came and found me and did that side of things. My favorite thing to do day to day, what would be my favorite thing? The number one most favorite thing that I have is seeing one of my direct reports success. When they finish one of their rocks, that's my thing. And if I can help them, that's awesome. If I don't have to help them, it's even better. Like if I see somebody just go, hey, I need to nail this like Hawaiian Airlines video and ad and rollout, and then like they just get that done because I've given them enough rope, enough support, and they go and get that done. That's my favorite thing. So the good news is we have lots of small successes, whether it's a new harvester or growing this or a new cane varietal that's getting launched or any of those, that I get to have those achievements actually pretty frequently. But that would be like my number one sort of like happiest thing. I also still get a massive joy going into the tasting room and just seeing people light up. So I'll just get to walk in, check in with Bernadette, who runs the front of house for us, and she'll look around and I'll just be watching nothing but grins up and down because we're pouring rum in people's mouths all day long. So like that still brings me a ton of joy. I mean, I'm a recovering bartender, right? So it still like makes me super happy to go in there and go, we're still providing this like really cool, unexpected experience in Hawaii. Like people think when they travel to the Caribbean, they're like, oh, we're gonna go to rum distilleries. That's cool. It's a known commodity. Rum in Hawaii is frankly really new. There was one distillery before us that was doing rum, and they had only been at it for about 10 years. So like this is a new industry.
And for those who need to know this, if you happen to go visit Pearl Harbor and you want to head to the North Shore, this is the last bathroom before you head there. It's like at the top in the middle of beautiful views, obviously gorgeous property, and not only a good place, and this is what I was going to say, it's not only a great venue to go taste and try wine, but it's also been a great venue for events, and weddings and things. Talk about that too,
Yeah, that side of it's really cool because we're in an area of Hawaii that people don't generally think of. Like we're not Waikiki, we're not the North Shore, it's not like a beachy thing. We're in old agricultural land, so we're kind of nestled in between these two mountain ranges, the Ko'olau Range and the Waianaes, in old farmland. It's the only road on Oahu that feels like a neighbor island. It's a 2-lane highway, it's super small, it's quiet, it's nothing but farmland. I mean, it's literally like corn, some watermelons, tomatoes, papayas, some pineapple, and then like obviously a boatload of cane.
Yeah.
So it's this really beautiful thing nestled away. And then as you look down from, frankly, our neighboring farm has a really cool lanai that looks down and you can see through Pearl Harbor and to Diamond Head.
Oh, wow.
And so it's this gorgeous space where you do it. Years ago when I got married, I actually had my wedding there. And it was spectacular. New Year's Eve, saw the fireworks all around the whole island because you're in the middle of it. So you have this just gorgeous view. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's do the admin part of the show, then we're going to do Fun Street with you, all right? Share with the listeners all the places people can go learn about Ko Hana online, where they can get it, and we'll put it all in the show notes and all those links. We'll even do a fun little video, which will probably have a little bit of our conversation along with some of the pictures of this stuff, maybe even us having a sip or two. I don't know. We'll have to check it out. I think we will. But give everybody that info, and then we'll move on to Fun Street here.
So the easiest place to check for us is kohanarum.com. That's where you'll get it. Sign up for the newsletter because that's where like most of like the freshest content comes out there, and then Instagram at Ko Hana Rum is our handle there. Those are the smartest, quickest places, and they'll kind of lead you to everything else you need. I mean, if you're in Hawaii, I can point you to like all of the liquor stores perfectly. Obviously, Total Wine's a big supporter, so like if you have access to them, California or a couple other states, that they're great. And yeah, that's where I would look. kohanarum.com. Sign up for the newsletter is the best play. But even if you don't, just check back. We've actually got a new website dropping in about a month, so that would be nice. Yeah.
Awesome. And obviously, ordering Ko Hana based on where you live. There's certain restrictions. Let's share that information as well.
Yeah, it's so amorphous and crazy. Because of that 3-tier system, you have different rules in different states. So we have some states that have reciprocity where we're allowed to ship. And then we have other ones where like our partners based in California ship because they have X, Y, and Z. So it's really easier to go through us. But you can Google just Ko Hana, Kohana, space RUM, and then look at that because there's some great ones. There's a bunch of people in California that have really mastered the system.
Right.
So a ton of our partners there have great shipping options to states that we can't. Like most of the middle of the country, we don't have reciprocity with. You can't ship to Oklahoma or Missouri.
Give it time. They'll hear more of this podcast. They're going to want demands. They're going to put in their requests. They're going to lobby their state. They're going to go through that 3 or 4 tier system, and then it's going to happen.
Exactly. That's exactly what's going to happen. It is going to be it's going to be you and I on this podcast, not Amazon beating down the door.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. All right, we're going to do Fun Street here, and we'll kick things off here with, does Kyle have a favorite movie of all time or one that you love to rewatch?
Oh, I do. So I would say Guys and Dolls is my number 1 favorite movie of all time. Marlon Brando, Frank Sinatra.
Old school here.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. And then like as a young man, I grew up in the Fight Club generation, so I'll also say like you've got the Fight Club moment too. Those would be my 2, which are very different films. Like
I would say so.
I'm not gonna fit in a box, you know.
First rule about Thrive Loud is don't talk about it. No, talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do a little speed round here.
Yeah.
I ask you something. First thing that comes to your mind. These are things that lift you up, motivate you, make you feel good. Basically, they make you thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All right. Of late, a song that you love to listen to, or one that's like your jam.
Oh, what's been really good? Man, what have I been listening to? There's a gentleman called Fred Again, and he has an album that I just listened straight through. Fred Again.
Okay, Fred Again. A favorite food that is not a dessert.
Favorite food that's not a carbonara.
Oh, that's good. You're in a good place to maybe go get that.
I am.
A favorite dessert.
Favorite dessert? Always cheesecake, 100% of the time.
Are you a New York cheesecake or like an Italian cheesecake kind of guy?
New York cheesecake.
So you like the cream cheesy kind of
Exactly. That's a good question. I usually get, are you a Japanese cheesecake versus New York? I'm a New York cheesecake.
I'm an East Coast guy.
Yeah,
you're in the middle of the Pacific. We understand you. You have better options. So,
I don't know about better, different.
It's better options. Okay. An activity you wish you did more of.
Surf.
An activity you wish you did less of.
Oh, an activity I wish I did less of. No, I'm super fortunate. I don't know if I have.
He lives in Hawaii. He is the general manager of a rum company. How could he possibly want to do less of anything?
Drive. I wish I drove less. That would be.
You do. It's a lot of driving to get to all the places down there.
Yeah, well, it's more driving on sales routes.
Oh yeah.
Than anything else. Like it's not driving to the distilleries. glorious.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things every day. It levels me. But as soon as I'm leaving there going into Honolulu proper,
Got it.
that would be my moment.
An activity that's new to you that you've recently tried that you like so much you want to tell everybody else to try.
Oh, interesting. I have been doing these. So I got a Peloton recently, and I've not been using the bike, but doing some of their other workouts.
Yeah.
I am all in on like the other weird workouts that Peloton has. Whatever it is, they've got like bar and this and that, but I like their strength classes. I played college basketball. I had to work out a lot in my life. I got out of the gym big time when I stopped, and now I'm like, oh, I feel good getting back into this.
They do a good job, and their instructors aren't so bad to look at on any level.
I mean, yeah, 100%.
They're all over the place. We actually were just by their studio yesterday, 2 days ago, and it was really cool just to check it out. Bonus question for you here. Okay, of the more traditional Ko Hana beverages, which is your favorite? I know you love them all, but is there one what's your go-to? That
I laugh about this all the time. I tell the joke like it's like picking your favorite kid. Everybody has one, but they're unwilling to say it. Mine is I like our Kea. Our white rum is the heart and soul. It is transporting you to sitting in the middle of a cane field. Nothing else added to it. There's no time in wood, none of that. So our white rum is the business for me. And I mentioned 3 things earlier that we do that make us different. We actually do a 4th, which is we only use 1 cane type at a time.
Right.
So just like a vintner would use Cabernet Sauvignon or Sauvignon Blanc and not pretend those 2 grapes are the same thing, rum producers have always pretended all sugarcane is the same.
Right.
We do individual varietals. So Lahi, L-A-H-I, that sugarcane varietal is my personal favorite. It means fragile or frail. It's a little hard to grow. It has this like perfect salinity underneath the tropical notes. It is my favorite spirit, period.
Love it.
Yeah.
And of the ready-to-drink ones, the ones in the mixes, which is your favorite of the production?
My favorite has ended up being the least popular in sales, which is a bummer, but it's the Hemingway daiquiri is my favorite.
And
what's
that?
It's a grapefruit daiquiri.
A grapefruit. Oh, I like grapefruit.
Yeah.
I would like that.
So Hemingway, when he was down in Cuba, was like, oh, I like my daiquiris as doubles, so they call them Papa Dobles. And he's like, add grapefruit and leave out some of the sugar. It's perfection.
You heard it here from Kyle. Kyle, pleasure to have you on Thrive Loud. Continued success with Ko Hana, continued success on your trip. You're here in New York, and why are you here in New York? For fun.
For fun. This is a proper vacation. Ballet, shows, eating, drinking.
We're going to give a shout out to all of the viewers and listeners out there. Go check out KoHanaRum.com. Go check out Ko Hana, where you can go get it. And we'll probably do a clip here of us having a drink real soon. But thanks so much for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.
To all the listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.
Okay. All right. So, Kyle, what do we have here?
So we have probably the most popular cask strength rum we've ever made.
Cheers right away. Okay.
This is called Kila. Kila is the Hawaiian word for strength.
Got it.
So K-I-L-A, like Kila, Kila. And this is cask strength. It's coming in at above 60% ABV. So this is full-on pirate juice. And
it's early here in New York as we're recording this. This is going to be good.
This goes with our coffee, and it's finished in Oloroso sherry barrels.
All right.
Most sherry finishes are done in Pedro Jimenez barrels, which are sweeter, more raisiny. This is a really interesting sherry.
Where do you get the barrels from? I never asked that.
So it's usually from a barrel broker. So there are different people who will go buy them from great manufacturers, usually with NDAs in place where they can't say like, oh, this is from XYZ. That said, we have some personal relationships with different ones,
Got
so
it.
you may see some branded stuff come out eventually.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to market. Cheers,
Exactly.
right? Thanks. Breathing. All right.
Co-branding, right? People love it.
Oh yeah, that's just damn smooth.
For 60% too.
Holy cow.
I mean, you're at 120 proof. When's the last time you pulled a bourbon at 120 proof and didn't go,
Well, that's what I was getting at. Is that for those who are interested in this, that it does not taste like what you would think rum to taste like. This is unbelievable. By the way, this is by far I mean, you wouldn't know you were drinking a Scotch or you were drinking a bourbon. Like maybe you would know a bourbon, but this is definitely somewhere in between those two, but better.
I love it. I've been so proud of
It smells delicious.
this,
Yeah.
like the aged process stuff that we've done.
Right.
And really, I like I said earlier in the episode, like I like our white rums. They're really what set it apart. The commitment to excellent aged spirits. We're the only people in Hawaii making something aged that we grow and distill. One of one.
I'm going back in.
Yes,
Sorry.
sir.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's tequila.
That's tequila.
I'm in.
You may have to take that bottle home.
Yeah. Don't tell the owner.